Yeah, so I'm Alexander Tuti, serial entrepreneur and co-founder of Surplus. Surplus is all about massively reducing food waste.
My name is Max Costa. I'm the head of ShareTheMeal. ShareTheMeal is an app to fight hunger with a tap. Basically, actually crowdfunding against hunger on mobile.
Right, and I'm one of the co-founders of Share, which is a sort of follow-on to ShareTheMeal, where we're bringing this sharing idea into offline space by building the first social retail brand in Europe under the one-for-one sharing principle.
And Share is also a partner, and they wanted to bring some of their new energy bars, or what are they? Like
they're nut bars, organic nut bars, and the truck got stuck on the road, so it's coming in fresh with the first batch at around 4 p.m. So maybe later on for the next.
So fingers crossed.
Yeah, I saw the corny over there, and it hurt my soul.
Hey, I'm Ohnesorge, and I'm at ResQ. We created a platform which brings restaurants and customers together on the surplus market. So if surplus is trying to reduce food waste on the supermarket level, we do that in gastronomy.
Yes, and it's true. I'm Jewell Sparks. I am the CEO of Bithouse, which stands for Best in Tech House. So basically, anytime there's a traditional industry and there's like a disruption with technology, we try to identify the best technology solutions in order for there to be integration. But the reason I'm really here today is because I started the Food and Food Tech Group for the Deutsche Startup Association, and so we're here to talk about the platform that we have for all the different food and food tech companies here throughout Germany.
Wonderful, thanks for the short introduction. I would directly jump with you in the topics. This morning we had a big talk with Delivery Hero, and he was mentioning, okay, their target group is not really so much into this whole sustainable approach. They are more interested in price. The pizza should cost €7, and that's the most important point for a lot of customers. These startups you present and the field you are mostly active in are much more different to this. So I would like to ask you guys, how do you consider this whole approach of sustainability in Berlin, of course, and also what's the biggest challenge for you to work with sustainability in your field, or where might be the tricky points in your companies?
Okay, I'll just start. So, are you talking like in terms of our business model or our customers, especially? So I think in terms of our business model, sometimes the public gets confused because we are neither like a profit-driven startup only, nor an NGO. So a lot of customers are kind of ask us, but that's waste. Like, why do you take money for that still? And don't understand like that we are actually filling this gap between non-profit and for-profit, and that we are, of course, we have to make money because we are a lot of people living from that, and yes. And I think sometimes there we are stuck in the middle, but at the same time I see here in Berlin especially that there's a lot of initiatives seeing this potential in solving environmental and societal problems in like a business in an entrepreneurial manner. So I see that as a big chance. And in terms of customers and how they value sustainability, I think we have this privilege that we can combine like a low-cost solution and a sustainable approach or a sustainable product. And we want to be like the most convenient and the most sustainable option in the urban environment to eat. And everybody has to eat, so everybody has to think about that. And so I think we are reaching customers who order through ResQ because they really care about the issue of food waste. And they see how much food is wasted in gastronomy because a lot of young people work in gastronomy or just know about it and want to do something about it and want to implement it in their daily routines. And on the other hand, of course, we have a lot of people who just want to try something new and are just like really interested in this concept, and who just want to have a low-cost meal and maybe also a more healthy alternative to fast food. So I would say this is where we are filling the gap.
All right, so for Share, what we're trying to do is introduce social as another, I would say, dimension of sustainability in our products. So the way it works is that for each product that you buy with us, we directly link it to a donation of an equivalent and show exactly on the product where the donation goes. You can read all about it, through the technology link that's on the product. I would say
is share by the way, it's coming from ShareTheMeal from the org, or is it
the team is overlapping somewhat, and certainly we're taking this sort of same idea and trying to bring it offline. So we're in a way a low tech company as compared to some others here, but believe that the reach can be extended. The reach that ShareTheMeal already has, and that they're extended in the online space. We also want to reach the people that are not primarily just online customers or app customers. So I would say the challenge that we face is that, contrary to one of the main challenges, is that contrary to an all online startup, testing at a small scale is really difficult. So for any producer, supplier to take you seriously, there are two issues. One is the MOQ, the minimum order quantity, that is always the first question, then therefore testing becomes an issue. And the second is there's a certain amount of culture clash going on if you want to break into the mainstream market, also with the producers, where they're less willing to try new things or to experiment, and so that's really difficult. And the second challenge on the customer side, I would say, is that, and that's linked to the first one, is that customers sort of expect sustainable products, and maybe you see this differently, but we think that they expect a sustainable product also to be sustainable in all dimensions, which is something that nobody's really willing to pay for when you started as a small company. So the question is, how can you get better bit by bit and kind of make sure that people don't believe that you're not following the sustainability path just because you can't do everything at the first time and from the start.
For what I can say from my experience, actually, compared to what Delivery Hero said today, is actually, I believe that social impact products are going to become the new norm. I really see in millennials, not only in Germany or in Berlin, but pretty much actually in many markets, that there is an interest that is actually going way beyond price, in actually using your purchasing power to have a positive change. So I believe that the challenge is really actually to align as much as possible the private good with the public good, with good products, or also by leveraging on amazing platforms like, of course, Delivery Hero, but can be everything else, to actually have a positive impact. Doesn't mean that everything should have in its DNA something like Share does, so that you buy one and they deliver another bar to a hungry child. But for example, you can use Delivery Hero also to have an impact by partnering up with some project like these ones. And actually on Sunday we launched in the Americas, so unfortunately not here, a partnership with Google's and 10 app and games. And so they're donating to us part of their revenues during this week because it's World Food Day week. And I actually think this is exactly what I mean. And I actually, if Google is doing it and Apple is also doing it, there is a reason, and it's really beyond price. So for me, that's the biggest challenge. Of course, we are basically a charity, so there is not much private good that we can give, apart from karma points. But I think
on Monday you had the big initiative day, last Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah, exactly. It was like this World Food Day initiative. It was mostly focused in the US, but I mean, we also had other activities here. But anyway, like for me, really the biggest thing is really to actually for the other companies to reach and try to get a mindset that is actually beyond pricing. They actually think people already have this like really in their mind, and what is difficult is probably to drive that discourse in the public space. What is going to be the challenge of our generation? I mean, you had HIV, you can have food for this generation, you have climate change. There are so many issues that we can tackle, and we are like really in the most fortunate percentage of a very big population of this planet. So I actually think it should really up to us to try to step up and make a change. So yeah, working for this, I guess. And yeah, the biggest challenge, of course, is that yeah, you have minimum order quantity, but it's also very tough for us to be noticed by Apple and Google. And I think it's also by doing products that are different, even if they are social, that you actually get noticed, right? If you deliver a bad product just because you don't have money to develop a great app, then how can Apple or Google push you, or like how can any other supermarket push your bar? The product has to be good, even if there is a social impact in it, because also you will never get the consumers if the product is not right.
Yeah, so when I started to look into food and food waste, and this is about 2 years ago, as a serial entrepreneur, I tried to talk to as many people as possible. Talk to the food industry, I talked to hotels, I talked to Tafel, food banks. I talked to initiatives which center around food waste reduction, basically. And I found when it comes to sustainability, and there's many individual initiatives, yeah, but it's really hard for each and every one to scale. Yeah. Either you have social or you have commercial, but hardly have a combination of social and commercial. So I felt to really answer to sustainability and to really achieve an impact, it needs a combination of both. Yeah. So I set up Surplus as a concept which is partly for profit, or like mainly for profit, meaning like it is able to generate profits through a business model. So you have to have a business model to start with, in order to pay for components of the concept that are non-profit. Yeah, so 20% of all the food we save, we give out for free to NGOs and to needy people and so on. That's really important to us. And that makes us an impact model, so like social plus business model. And when I talk to all these people, I always like to ask the question, say, so how can I help? And what's your problem? And by asking what's your problem, you learn about the challenges, right? What really surprised me, and you know the Metro story really well. Metro became a partner day one, yeah, and I've never seen that in 18 years of building startups, to have like an incumbent to partner with a tiny startup day one. Yeah, what's in it for them? But as you all know, like it's sometimes hard for big corporates to like innovate. And so I didn't have to convince Metro to move into like a CSR strategy. They had one already, and it's super transparent. Like you can read by 2025, they want to reduce their own food waste by 50%. Yeah, and we're talking massive numbers. Yeah, and they know with the traditional concept of TAF, for example, that are beautiful, but they don't scale because there's no business model, there's no technology, there's no high tech, there's no aggregation. Yeah, so I figured the best way to really answer to this massive problem is to aggregate everyone who's active in this space and build a marketplace. Yeah, so actually Surplus is all about building a marketplace to connect supply, i.e. surplus food, and demand, like businesses, restaurants, canteens, consumers, everyone, mainstream basically, and to become really intelligent and to almost predict that the food is coming from farmers, for example, and where does it need to go? Yeah, so like predictive. But even if you have like a big vision to like massively reduce, if not eliminate food waste, you need to break it down as a founder and start in baby steps. Yeah, and our baby step is to have a store. So we just opened our store in Berlin to sell food at a discount. Save food basically to the public without any limitation.
That's great. You just mentioned it, this whole approach of also technology and combining the purpose of being sustainable. How do you see this, guys? Is there a contradiction with the technologies you're using, with all this whole discussion about the the footproof of search engines which you send the world, and is it technology and your sustainable ideas, your business concepts which you have, the core values of your businesses? Is it for you, is there any contradictive point, or is it just you use the technologies to transport, as you said, to bring it to a much more wider and bigger audience? Or is it a bit like, are you trying to find, because I think it's sometimes a bit tricky situation. If you use the technology, which is working on what kind of energies ever, and you say, okay, we want to be very green in all other aspects. Is it a topic for you guys, or?
For me, the contradiction is actually not to use technology potentially, because I mean, of course, it has to make sense. But in general, technology is there, is a thing. We're not going to get rid of it. It's actually just going to accelerate the pace of adoption and innovation. And I think it would be fairly myopic to keep doing whatever we want to do to solve big problems without taking into account innovation or technology just because it's not perfect. Of course it's not. It's never going to be perfect. But it can actually be extremely evil too. And I actually think we should try to give technology a chance, even to be one of the main actors and the main lever to solve the big problems of humanity in general. Because if there is actually a global lever that can also accelerate the fight against hunger, pollution, everything, it can be that one. And then if we want to talk about climate change or like the impact on the environment of these big corporations, then it's also up to them and up to the shareholders to make this a priority. Because of course it's not like a small social impact project that can also say to, for example, Apple, hey, you should be 100% green. But I think they will come to realize, actually Apple does, but everyone I think will come to realize that this should be a priority also to be able then to sell your main product.
Yeah, I mean, in the case of surplus or like the wider food waste solution topic, technology is beautiful, right? I mean, there's so much out there you can use as AI and deep tech and connecting SAP systems and so on. But I know, as a founder, it's not just technology; it's the people. Yeah, and technology can be hindering in the sense that people don't get it. There's angst, there's fear, and say like, it's taking my job, or like I don't know what's going to happen, basically. So despite the availability of high tech, and that's great, we should not forget, in the end, like we're all partners and we're human beings, and we need to explain and take. As much time as, focusing on technology, as much time to actually educate people and tell them, what's going to happen basically, and also to listen to them and take their requirements into the technology specification. Yeah. So just for example, I talked to one of the bigger food banks this week, and, it's almost like a rhetorische Frage, it's like, technology, and you think they would say yes, but the opposite is the case. Because they just don't really understand the purpose, and the fear of change basically needs to be answered first before you actually move into technology.
Yeah, I would say like for us, technology is the backbone. It's like our basic tool, and we couldn't, our business model wouldn't work without technology, and we just need this really, like this real-time making resources accessible in real time. So if you guys are walking through Berlin and you have the app on your phone,
did any one of you ever use the application, Meal Saver or ResQ Club?
Okay, so you guys know you would walk around the street and then based on your settings, you get the push notifications when there are portions available nearby. So yeah, we really need this really targeted and real-time communication, which is only possible through technology. And I see also, there's also closed-loop technologies and a lot of sustainability solutions which wouldn't be possible with technology, without technology, but I also think we need this discourse always to be aware that it's taking resources and it's taking energy. But at the same time, we also have to see what possibilities it creates. And I think especially in creating access to surplus resources, no matter where, and connecting them to people who actually need them. In this field, technology has a real positive impact on sustainable lifestyle.
Yeah, and then Deutsche Startup Association, if we didn't have technology, we wouldn't be able to build awareness of all the different food and sustainable food companies that are out there. I mean, it's due to technology that people become aware of the smaller startups, and I think to your point, you were talking about how hard it is maybe to see a larger organization form an alliance with a smaller company. And then you also had mentioned how even there's this traditional way, even if you have a physical store, you can also help, I think, introduce folks who aren't comfortable with technology to technology solutions. And when I think about sustainable food, I'm thinking about the climate, the environment, how do we prevent waste, how do we make sure maybe there's a lot of food that's out there, for example, Impossible Foods, they just got 75 million, they don't even use animals. So there's all this whole other movement as to where you're using different vegetables and you're not using meat, or you're growing from plant cell or from animal cells. And so when I think about sustainable foods, I think about all those different areas. And technology is an enabler that I feel helps expand the reach and help it scale.
Yeah, maybe just after that. Just as food for thought, basically, sustainability is not just related to products, right? It's also process. So if you think about how to set up like a really good process to help people and parties and partners move into sustainability, there could be a ton of impact. Yeah. So for example, if you design a marketplace to redistribute surplus food back into society, and you attach logistics companies and Spedition and all these guys, and it becomes like part of the overall marketplace, right? Like that's beautiful, it's super powerful, but it's quite demanding and complex because you have offline and online, you have for-profit and non-profit, and you have partner models and so on, right? And technology is just the link, like a communication link between parties, but that could create the biggest possible impact, as opposed to the individual pieces that might be by themselves sustainable, but they don't interact.
To add from our perspective as well, and I think for me this sums up maybe, hopefully, some of the things that we just said. Technology generally decreases the cost of information, right? And one of the things that cause unsustainability in general is that people don't see the effects of their actions. And so if you can decrease the cost of information such that people have instant access to either the negative consequences or hopefully in our case the positive consequences as well of their actions, then we believe that the message can be much more powerful and more people would opt into sustainable models. So in that way I think sustainability and technology are perfectly aligned. The only difficulty is, thinking back to what I said earlier, is that people become extremely demanding and they don't really have necessarily the patience that there are other processes that take more time than refreshing the page on your smartphone, and so that things that small changes that I want to do to our products can take months to realize. I mean, we're just starting up, and we're hoping to kind of be able to buffer this with more transparent communication of what's going on, and telling people where we're not sustainable yet and what we're trying to do to get there. But certainly the attention span of people shrinks also with the cost of information that technology decreases.
Besides the information and technology aspect, we have totally different startups sitting here on stage. Of course, sustainable, like your business models are to a certain point quite different. And since you are from the Startup Association, which are also now having this chapter of food and tech, I have always the feeling that Berlin is a very sustainable city. There's a lot of happening. It's a very green city, but I've always also the feeling that a lot of people don't work together. And I think especially with the topic of sustainability, it's a very sad thing, because if you want to change something, why not change something together? But it's always the feeling after 10 years of Berlin, it's like this still, I would like to hear your opinion on this, and also if you have a solution maybe on this, and maybe you can say also as something as the association, how we could get better on this, because sustainability starts not just in your house and in your startup, it's a total approach. Right?
Yeah, actually one of the reasons I approached the Deutsche Startup Association and said we needed a food and food tech group. As you can hear, I'm American. I come from San Francisco, Silicon Valley, but I've been in Germany for 4 years. And where I come from, like, no startup is sustainable or can scale unless there's collaboration. And so I'm coming from an environment where it's about communication and about collaboration. So obviously I saw there's the Deutsche Startup Association. I've been involved in the food space. Actually, before I moved here, I started the first food hackathon in San Francisco, the first like AgTech conference in Silicon Valley. And I was like, there needs to be something, because food is something that we all need. It doesn't matter where we are, it doesn't matter what language we speak. So I'm all about how do we unite for food. And so I approached them because I wanted to find some way and have some vehicle to bring together all these other companies that I know are working on the same thing, in hopes that when we have our meetings and when we get together, that they'll start talking to each other and say, hey, I'm kind of working on this as well. How can we collaborate? Because I feel that strength comes in numbers. And since I've worked both in corporates and I've worked both in startups, the silo thing, I hate. And if you also look at corporate startup engagement, you should usually see a big dinosaur and then like this little person looking up saying, will you help me? And I feel that the moment that startups collaborate and come together, when they sit at a table with the corporate, it's we're here because we have something that you need, and obviously we want to meet with you because you obviously, so how can we collaborate? Versus like, we need you, so what can we do to make you feel happy, and vice versa. So that's why I formed the group, and it has helped. I think there's a couple of companies obviously on the stage that since they were even part of our network, they work together, and so it's all about collaboration.
Yes, I think I have to agree to a certain, of course. I think a challenge is that there's so much going on in Berlin in the startup scene, so it's like hard to see, okay, like to not get lost in networking and really see, okay, where can we both benefit from synergies? And yes, that's basically.
I agree.
We all agree. Collaboration.
It's perfect. So let's work on this. Let's build something up in Berlin. And I like this. Yeah. Maybe one more question comes into my mind. Please, yeah.
I'd say that I'm an old fart in the industry, so I'm probably the wrong person to ask that question, because it's not about my startup surplus. It's more about finding solutions, and so I'm working with the boards of Visible and in all the hotels basically, and I'm looking at wider solutions. And if it comes to like food waste hotels, for example, we as surplus might not qualify at first, but other people do. So I'm meeting other startups to see where's the solution in the marketplace basically. So I'm all about networking and collaboration and piecing things together. But that's probably because I don't have to work in one startup anymore.
And for these startups on stage, it works also with an international target group. If you compare it with the German target group in the field of sustainability, also ShareTheMeal, of course, where would you see is the biggest difference? Because it's always interesting, of course, to see also something. How do the Germans what the mindset of them in sustainability?
For us, the German market is the best by far, and it's probably also the only market in which we don't really have any virality. But the app keeps growing by itself, and it's the only market in which, even if we don't do anything for months, there is like this steady growth. And it's really because here we had an initial very good launch, and I think it was also very timely because it was at the peak of the Syrian crisis here, and people really wanted to have, and I think we provided an easy way to be part of the solution for people. That was a bit beyond just putting a like on a Facebook video, And so we see that really people here like it way more than in any other market. Of course, the challenge for us is actually to make this happening in many other markets, because of course the platform is global, it's scalable, so there is no reason just to really focus on Germany. But per se, it works amazing. I actually believe that we are probably a bit too much focused on the German market and not really thinking with the mind of the Silicon Valley, for example. Right? Like penetrating the US with the mobile app is not an easy game. And I think we also need to make that switch, both in terms of resources that we want to invest and how we really customize the product and the communication to attack another market.
Price sensitivity is brutal in Germany. I mean, people are just not willing to pay for anything that doesn't scream a clear benefit into their face. And if attention span isn't long enough, then it's only about price. So that's really difficult, and you can see it. I mean, I'm probably talking to people who all know that. You know, if you compare the price tags, and especially in the premium sector where most food startups are locating themselves. If you compare what to price levels in the US, in the UK, anywhere in Europe, it's just no match. I think one key moment that I had there was when I watched a documentary about foie gras farmers in Hungary, and the farmer said, we sell the foie gras to France and to England and to anywhere in Europe, and then the reporter asked, what do you do with the meat? The guy from Hungary says, oh, that we can only sell to Germany. They eat everything. That's cheap. and I think that sums it up.
Yes, I think, I think the price sensitivity, especially also here in Berlin. I spent the last 3 years in Hamburg, and it's also already there. You see like a difference, and you can just you can get basically an entire meal for €3 here if you don't care about high quality. So that is definitely a challenge, and I think Germans are known for not spending a lot of money on good food. But I mean, at the same time, we also see that in Berlin there's a lot of people's mindsets are shifting, and people care more about where food actually comes from and about vegan and vegetarian diet. And I mean, it's for us it's Fluch und Segen zugleich because on the one hand, then the restaurants are also caring more, and they have less waste, which actually complies with our vision. But on the other hand, yes, that puts an additional challenge to us. So yes, I think that there is big differences internationally, and I mean we are operating on the Swedish and Finnish market, and we do see a lot of differences how markets are working there, especially in terms of price. Price for food is just way higher there.
Besides the price sensitivity issue, we shouldn't forget Berlin is still a poor city, right? And it's for historic reasons we haven't had many big corporates, German corporates in Berlin. That's changing as we speak. But my wife's a teacher, and she says 1 out of 4 school kids here in Berlin, independent of geography, has no snack, right? Pausenbrot, right? For various reasons, but that's a high number, right? So my vision is for Berlin as a milestone to say it would be beautiful to have Berlin without hunger in 5 years. Yeah, so we all team up, and there's technology, and we have Schulterschluss amongst all players basically together with the Senate and the city of Berlin. That'd be something really powerful to say we all team up and to solve the hunger problem in Berlin, because there's a problem.
Yeah, and I'm non-German, but I've lived both in Dusseldorf, Munich, and Berlin, and they're being in 3 different countries, I have to tell you. My advice to founders, I always say, be local, but think global. One of my favorite startup acquisition stories is, and it's not in the food space, but I remember when Adidas acquired Runtastic. The reason that was a successful acquisition is because Runtastic had 24 different nationalities working within the organization. I don't think that there's any difference between Runtastic and what a lot of these food companies can do in terms of making sure that they employ different nationalities that help them launch into these different markets. I'm also a firm believer that anytime there is it's not really a weakness, but it is, you guys have mentioned how difficult it is being in Berlin. I also think that that's a huge opportunity in the food space. Let's look at how Amazon, for example, just acquired Whole Foods. You're right, in the States, people, they buy premium for quality, sustainable food. But I think there's no better time right now to be a food startup than right now, because there's a lot of big corporations that have global operations that are looking for CPG products, they're looking for business models such as what you guys have. I think it's a prime opportunity, and I tell everybody to come to Germany because, first of all, everyone's healthy. They eat great food. That's something you don't see in the States. Most of the folks are obese because they don't eat right. So this is a great time for you guys, and I think it's a great opportunity. There's going to be a lot of people coming cross-border, investing, corporations that have global operations, looking at you guys and kind of the systems that you guys have to see how they can partner and also implement those solutions into their business models. So.
Perfect. I want to open the round to the audition. Is there anything you want to know from our experts on stage before we're heading for coffee? Sustainable coffee, of course. Anyone? Okay.
Hi. So a lot of the stuff that you described and that you also described as problems, connecting companies and stuff, requires software engineering and people that work with data and that do like all these individual. And if I think about the people that I know that are really good software engineers, they tend to go to NASA and work on the Mars rover. So do you guys feel that you have a problem of attracting these highly skilled professionals into, say, I don't want to say niche, but into a field that is not traditionally associated with this kind of work?
For us, yes, it's a challenge because in all honesty, it's a very crowded market. Right? There are like not that many good mobile engineers. Berlin is a good place to be because I think it's attracting a decent amount of talent, and of course, being historically a poor city, it's also like quite cheap to live here compared to Silicon Valley. So we pay less than 30%
yes, lots.
a mobile engineer. And so I think we cannot offer the super competitive salary that you would get if you go to a commercial startup, but we offer something else. So I think it's also our job to show really what is the impact that we have on the life of thousands of hungry children, and then at the end of the story we work with 6 mobile engineers. So if 16 million meals have been shared in less than 2 years, this is actually all something they can be proud of because they are building ShareTheMeal. And this is quite cool. I think it's cool for us to wake up and know that whatever, we're gonna do another presentation on PowerPoint to sell to the number X enterprise we want to work with, but you know that you're doing for a reason. Sitting another day and debugging an Android app is also fairly painful, and they do it anyway because they believe in what we do. So I actually think we have a very big strength to actually attract talent. Of course, it's a longer process to look for the right talent that is attracted by what you have to offer. But we have something peculiar to offer.
I mean, you know, of course, it's getting more and more difficult to like hire great people, basically. Yeah? But you know, here we are, right? And in Berlin or Tel Aviv or Silicon Valley, you know, it's what it comes down to is like, and I talk to my peers in the Silicon Valley all the time because we went to school together. In the end, it's you, right, as a founder, and it's your mission, right? And if you can be convincing and you have a powerful mission and people trust you as a person, say like, you know, they attach you as a person to like what you're talking about, basically, so it becomes one. The mission is you, basically. Then you attract amazing people. Yeah, and if you have an amazing team, you know, it attracts even more amazing people, basically. And that's the Google principle. And you know, companies that have become big and very successful, basically, because they focus from day one on the quality of people. So we should not compromise, you know, in the faith of growth, for example. So like we have to hire really fast. Yeah, so my second last company I almost lost because of that. So we went through like a hyper growth phase, and we doubled our staff within 3 months or so. So we hired like 30 people within 3 months, and did not pay enough attention on like the quality and the chemistry and fit as well. Yeah, and it almost broke the company. So we almost lost it, but we survived. But you know, that's my point. So like, you know, we should not compromise on quality. And quality is very different compared to like, you know, how I look at people for my company might be different from the way you look at your people, and that's perfectly fine. But the more powerful your mission is, you will attract the people you need.
Can I add one thing there?
Of course.
Just thinking, you know, it's very interesting to attract someone because you have to do a little sailing pitch, right? Even when you are doing interviews. But then another job is to actually retain incredibly good engineers that are actually also working for you maybe for 2 years that you cannot really pay much more. How can you retain that person on the job? That's another challenge, and it's a very interesting one. And I think at that point, really building the culture, building the team, and really staying true to what you promised when you hired someone is very key. And so being really someone, in our case, that deliver the food where we say the food is delivered, and showing that to the engineer that actually build it up, that's key. Because we are trying to hire very consciously, and it's an incredibly painful and expensive process in terms of time. And like we are hiring now, we had our like a marketing person. It took us like almost 4 months, and we interviewed like really many people. But you should keep doing that, because if you hire like that person, it's just gonna make the whole difference for the whole team. So I think it's really key, not really just to focus on how can I attract people, but then really retaining the good people you have.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that all our software engineering brain is in Finland, so you better ask my colleague and CEO, Ulla, over there later. But I think we are, like, what we can offer is this really like mission-driven work. And I mean, if you look back and see that through the app you built, like 300,000 portions of food were saved from being thrown away in the last month, then I think it gives you so much other like benefits, and also working in a team where you are really like all striving for the same goal, and it's not only work why you come here, but because you really want to create something new, something different. You're just moving in a different environment, and I think that's a huge benefit.
Perfect.
Just to share like a quick anecdote, like the Google founders, they looked at resumes for years and years and years. So like every single one, was put on Larry's and Sergey's desk, and they would not detach themselves from that HR process just to make sure that it works and you get the quality you need. And I'm sort of the same way. I don't differentiate between interns and C-level people that I hire, right? Because like you want to invest time. And that's a painful process because time is very limited. It's a holy currency, if you like. But if you get it wrong, you spend even more time. So you might as well invest into the HR process.
Perfect. I take the time is limited approach. Thank you very much, guys. Big applause for you guys. And coffee is not limited, maybe a bit limited, but fresh and staying there. And so, see you in about 15 minutes.